I just gave you a better way to do it, though.
Well, this might be the last episode, to be honest with you.
Do you have an Earl of Maniac t-shirt I could get?
I have no merchandise.
That's weird.
I don't want to be that comic who sells merch.
I feel like
nobody knows who they are.
I feel like you're leaving money on the table.
Well, I'm not in this business for money. I enjoy doing comedy.
It's called business.
No, you're right. Show business.
Well, it has a connotation of money in it, right? I said I'm not in this business for money, but
I genuinely.
You don't charge for your services because you dig it.
I don't. For this podcast, to be honest with you, 300 episodes in, I've never made $1. Other than my Mike Knuckles by Stephen Piercy.
I like those a lot.
So
does he use those when he sings?
He does. Yeah. And if you watch the new Geico commercial, he has a pair on.
Has he ever laid it on somebody?
I don't think at this point of his life, the singer from Rat's looking to get into too many fights.
How big is he? I'm gonna wait. He's 5'6" and he's 148 pounds.
I would say he's probably about 5'10".
Okay, and he's then if he's 5'10", he's 148 pounds.
Maybe. The biggest guy in Rat is
drummer.
No, unfortunately, is the guy who died of AIDS.
Warren DeMartini.
No, the other guitar. Got a guy with money. Robin Crosby is my favorite. Of course, I always like the ones who die. My favorite guy in the Village People. Of course. Well, it's like my favorite guy in the Village People was the leather guy, Glenn Hughes. He died.
How's that your favorite guy?
I just like the way he looked. Big. He was bigger than everyone else. He's like.
So you admired the guys that sang the YMCA, the Village People?
Yeah.
And so those.
How old are you?
48.
Okay, I'm 51.
I guess I just missed that because they were just. I remember the Village People, but I think I was too little to think of like.
Well, they had a short run, but for about 1 year, they were the biggest band in the world. Which is
that was around Dorothy Hamill, right? All times the figure skater.
That was.
Is it 78?
No,
something like that.
Well, they were. It's funny. They were on the same record label as Kiss, Casablanca.
And that's when Star Wars came out.
Donna Summer. I would say their prime was probably 78 to 79.
Mm-hmm.
And then they do one bad movie with Bruce Jenner at the time. Bruce Jenner.
Does Bruce Jenner exist still?
Called Can't Stop the Music, which was.
Or does Bruce Jenner cease to exist when Caitlyn Jenner begins? The protocol for that?
I don't want to get in trouble.
Well, we wouldn't want to start controversy.
No. To me, and this is just how
if I'd have told you 20 years ago that there were going to be other genders than male and female, you would have probably thought I was nuts.
I mean,
but now look at us. I told you so.
As long as he has his pee-pee, he's Bruce Jenner to me.
Does he or not?
I don't know. But like my one friend, Fifi Dosh.
Who's a transsexual?
He's transitioning.
Does he like to be called he, like what you just did?
No, she.
Okay, so
it's of course a habit. Like when she first told me.
I understand. I have a friend Angus that's the same way that used to be a Bernadette. And it's troubling for me because Bernadette was my best friend. We lived together and all that, and so sometimes I still go, "Hey B," and then I'm like, "Fuck." But we're all learning. I guess we do the best we can, you know.
Shout out to a chiropractic superstar, Drew and Hugh Gordon. They are chiming in.
God, thank you guys so much for all the chiropractic. I need to get my head adjusted because when I got knocked out last year, they said maybe your inner ear you can do a chiropractic adjustment for the inner ear. Are you hip to that?
Well, when the Gordon brothers come back to LA, they took a sabbatical. I'll get you in touch.
Fantastic.
Let's get back to the Village People. Do you know only one of them was gay in real life?
What about Louis Smolka, the Last Samurai?
Now we're watching UFC prelims on right now.
These guys look like they're 12.
So let's get back into acting for a second.
Okay.
And then we're gonna watch.
Let's segue. Go ahead. Let's not talk about it. Let's make it easy. Do this thing.
Well, I mean, we talk about Hulk Hogan casting. I could see you as a wrestler, maybe Hillbilly Jim. Hulk Hogan had a program with him.
Okay.
So call your agent, get on board. How cool was it to be in The Mandalorian? My heart blew out of my chest when Chandler's like, "Let's watch The Mandalorian." I'm a Star Wars. I'm a Chewbacca guy, but I always liked
Chandler. What did Chandler know about? Because she wasn't born at a time when she could have appreciated the first Star Wars the way we did.
Well, she.
Right? I mean, like, I
no,
don't know
you're
how
right.
I don't know how younger kids are exposed to Star Wars, but for when I got exposed to Star Wars as a 7-year-old or whatever, it was fucking mind bending.
I mean,
And to think that it still stands up. You know, that's made with miniatures. It's not CG. It's not any of the bullshit. And it's crazy good. It's so good.
The asteroid fields were potatoes. I prefer the first three over
First three.
Just because
I'm a first three guy myself.
there was a charm about them.
Yep.
And Darth Vader.
And there was a cohesiveness.
Yeah, I saw the Rise of Skywalker, and it just seemed like it was like that Guns N' Roses CD, Chinese Democracy, where you could tell that album was 20 guitar players, 18 drummers. It was very disjointed. You could tell each song.
I never even knew that Chinese Democracy actually came out.
That was the first album.
It was the thing that got dick teased for like 15 years.
Right, and it finally came out.
It's
And it was just very much Axl Rose, and almost every song was a different set of musicians. That's what the Rise of Skywalker felt to me. It was like, well, we didn't use this. We got to placate the older fans, so we'll put Chewbacca in this, and we'll Lando Calrissian, even though he doesn't really have a lot to do with the storyline, we'll jam him in there, and then Chewbacca. I think they did an early test screening of Chewbacca dying. And then
nobody wants that.
The fans went nuts, and so then they shoehorned it where when Chewbacca went on the ship and it blew up, he was on another ship. That if you watch that scene, there was no other ship. Mm-hmm. And I realize I'm overanalyzing a fake movie, but it's like they did stuff like that where it's like,
no, it's a real movie.
Well, I got into this discussion with Tom Segura and Christina Pazitsky about wrestling being fake.
Oh, that's a layered nuance.
Oh, absolutely. We don't have to get into that now, but that was my point of because he caused quite a bit of ruckus with his opinion on wrestling and if it's real and whatnot. And I think me, Tony Hinchcliffe, Ron Funches, and Steve Simone were brought on in our own individual segments to go, no, it's not fake. I was like, dude, you still watch the movie Predator? Do you think there's an actual alien killing?
Well, that's what's clear. When I only went once, Monday night here in LA, and it was fucking amazing, man. It was phenomenal to go to see it. And I talked to a friend. I saw a friend, Skylar Aston's across the way. It's crazy the amount of CT Fletcher was there sitting next to me. It was really wild, but it's like a lowbrow theater or something. It's like this that you're really engaged in, and then the audience is another actor almost within it. And fuck, man, it was fantastic, dude. It was the most fun I'd had in a long time.
But I was like, I don't think it's fake, and then we got.
Well, no, Jesus Christ! I mean,
it's
you talk
scripted.
about those guys. You watch the Big Show go up onto the third rung of the turnbuckle and go to jump on a guy's shoulders and then flip like. It's fucking highly acrobatic with huge fucking men. Like, it's crazy. So as far as real, like, it's real hit. I mean, but then I asked those guys, I go, how choreographed are you when you go out? Do you, like, clearly, like, you rehearse this? And he's like, we rehearse a bunch of moves that we all know, and then we know where it ends up at the end, but we figure it out in the midst of it. And you think about what kind of a unity and togetherness that is to create the result. It's fucking beautiful, man. What an art form.
Well, I think...
And then did you see what Tony showed, the wrestling show there? You were there.
I was there.
But what's his name? David
Arquette.
Holy shit, how good is he?
He's really gotten into, I don't know if I'd say he's quit acting and got into pro wrestling full time.
He's fantastic, bro.
Well, he's a fan, so I think he respects the business.
He's more than a fan because he's attuned his instrument. I mean, he's really fucking skilled. He's athletic as fuck. And he's as an actor, like, his performance is incredible. What a treat to see that. That was fantastic.
Well, it's funny you say acting because I think that the wrestlers of our era, Piper, Hogan, Warrior, Big John Studd, I mean, we can name 1,000, are better actors than the guys who do it now. Because I don't believe what they do now.
Right.
Like, obviously, I know it's scripted.
What about the girls? The girls' storyline is way different.
The girls, obviously Charlotte Flair, his dad is Rick, and she comes from a wrestling pedigree. To me, they look like fitness models who are doing choreographed moves.
What about the girl that was doing anal with all the sex toys and all those videos went viral?
Well, that's another video. That's another podcast. I don't watch...
I think it's interesting that she maintained a career like that. I thought that was beautiful. That stuff was able to be out, and she wasn't like ridiculed to the point of oblivion, which would have happened maybe 10 years ago with this culture.
Well, there are some people who have done porn who went mainstream, but you know, it's few and far between.
That's not. We're not going to call it. Would you call that porn?
I mean, I don't watch porn.
I mean, because that's wasn't the stuff I saw was an interaction between her and her boyfriend or something, and maybe he sent. I don't know what happened exactly.
Well, I don't
know why I was privy to these videos.
You must be talking about something else I didn't see. Like, but Seth Rollins said he had some dirty pictures leaked, and it certainly hasn't hurt his career. I don't really watch it today. I think I sound old saying this, but I really believe that what we saw in our generation was so much better than, you know, now it's just, they rush the storylines and, you know, like back in the day, like when Hogan fought Sting.
You're going to walk out with a sock puppet on your hand.
Stuff like that. And although Mankind, Cactus Jack, he's suffered some crazy injuries, you know, I don't know. I think the internet ruined wrestling for me.
How's that?
Well, I've told this story 1,000 times on the podcast, and it's a joke I do. It's like I thought wrestling was real till I met Kamala backstage, and you know, he told me his name was Jim and he's from Mississippi, and I was like, oh, I really thought he was.
It's weird that he let the veil down like that.
Well, I really thought he was from Uganda because there was no internet. I couldn't in 1980. You know, Google or Wikipedia James Kamala Harris, and which is funny that he has the same name as the politician, and go, oh, he's from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Oh, he's not from Uganda. And Abdullah the Butcher, and I have my Abdullah the Butcher doll right over there. Look over there, just to the left. That's
okay.
I really thought Abdullah the Butcher was from the Sudan, and he was just some madman.
From Pennsylvania.
Turns out his name is Larry, and he's from Windsor, Ontario. So it's ruined it in that regard.
You know what it ruined that for me was when I found out it was a loyalty issue for me. When I found out that the Detroit Red Wings were not comprised of Michigan natives, I was out.
Well, yeah, if you were to have an NHL team with just people from Michigan. Like...
It seemed to mean something to me. And as I grew up and thought about justice, that's what I thought would be righteous. And then I was like, it's not that way at all. And a lot of them, not even Americans.
Well, I like, my favorite story in those veins is Brett Hull, who was Canadian, born Canadian. He didn't make the Canadian Olympic. He was pissed. And he's like, oh, okay, you guys don't want me? Well, I'm going to get an American citizenship, and I'm going to play for Team USA. And then they won the World Cup with him, who should have been with the Canadians.
It's amazing.
So before we wrap up, when you did The Mandalorian, was there any feeling on the set of this is going to be big?
Oh, yeah.
Like, how do you know? Like,
when they say it's George Lucas's Star Wars, when you get those emails, it's like, it's fucking crazy, bro. And then, so I played 2 roles. Played the opening scene, which was phenomenal. Like that to have that whole scene be pivoted off of me. I'd never really been in that position before, and it was fucking great. I get to speak another language on the whole thing. But then I'd gotten called. I knew I was going to do another job besides just that, and that I was being suited for this heavy Mando, which it came to be. And that was a whole nother thing. And then Favreau was a heavy Mando in the animated series. And so he wanted to do that, but wasn't able to on the scene for the show. And so he did the voiceover for that character that I played physically.
Well, they really should have called me in for that role.
I mean, and for your voice. I
mean, I'm very fucking jelly. But now I'm trying to get work on this podcast. Waco. You were from the Earl Skakel School of Acting there. You were in like 8 episodes that had one line, very similar to my I'm Dying Up Here.
What was my line?
They asked you if you drank.
Okay.
And I'm not going to lie to you. They should fire the boom operator on that scene because for me it was a little inaudible.
There's mumbles.
Was that the line?
I don't know.
It's something like "No, I didn't," or it was very quick.
Right.
Kind of like my line in Benchwarmers when I opened up the porta potty door and said, "Hey, who did this?" And it was a black guy. Black guy did the voiceover.
Seriously.
Tough business. One line. You think they would have kept my voice in?
God damn.
Waco, was it fun? Was it exhausting?
Oh man, it's cool, and it's a trip to see it because being on that show was interesting because the FBI interrogator, he was there, that was at Waco at the scene, was also on our film. He was one of the advisors, and then also one of the advisors was a guy that was played by Rory Culkin. And Rory played...
He was amazing.
The drummer, right? Okay, so you know the character I mean. And so that guy was also on the scene. And it's weird because you're around that FBI guy. You're around a cop. Like, that's a Fed for a long... and he's retired for a long time now, but you're a cop. Like, it's...
Who was there?
Yeah, he's like... he brings all the tension, right? And a cool guy, nice guy and all that, but just about his shit. And then there's this guy that, you know, he'd fled from the fires and he was there, and he's, you know, I don't know, a shorter guy that's like, you know, suffering from obesity, like he's 400 pounds or something like that, not in a good way, 5'6" or something. And he suffered from this as a survivor, I think, in ways. So anyway, it was a trip to be around and to be able to behold that in America. For me, as an American, I was at an age when that all was going on and militias were coming up. People were trying to teach people how to hunt deer, how to, you know, secede from the nation, like how to be sovereign, how to do your taxes better, how to really administer the Bill of Rights and the Constitution and all that. And that's what militias were back then. And then the Randy Weaver stuff happened. I'd never heard of a white separatist. That term didn't exist before then, but that's when it came up. They called Randy Weaver, who was I think he was a Force Recon Marine or some Spec Ops guy from Virginia or somewhere, and he just wanted to move with his family and live after he got out of the service. And then, so they called him a white separatist. He didn't have any racial, there was no groups he was aligned with. There was none of that kind of stuff. It was just him and his family. They go up, they murder his family, right? And then William Free of the FBI, that was the head of that thing, they had to get out from under it. Bill Clinton's going to take away all the funding from that. All that shit was going on. ATF was about to be defunded. And then they go, oh shit, here's this crazy guy in Waco. And a thing that they could have just did a knock and serve warrant. And the sheriff suggested that. The feds are like, we got this. And they go in there with tanks and shit. And they kill a couple dogs right when they came up. They come up in full battle material. I mean, we watched it unfold on TV over all those days. It was fucking crazy in America. And then Oklahoma City happened after that. And then it was the complete vilification of anything with the militia. And that got shut out of the conversation in America. I mean, to me, all this stuff that I've been watching since I'm a little kid is a continuation of the escalation of power and control that the government is trying to extol over its citizens. It was the first time in American history constitutional to put a militarized force against its citizens. And Waco is where the government busted that cherry against its citizens. It was an interesting thing for me to be a part of because I had a lot of feelings about it in all the ways. And then I also think, as an aside, which is interesting, is that Bradley Branch, it's just like these kids, right? Kill 23 people in a church, kill all these people in a school. Man, do you have enough water, sir? Are you okay? Like, everybody treats them with kid gloves. But this guy, for forging a check, or if he even did, like, it's like we murder people for that. Brad Branch murdered federal agents. He gunned them up. And he's free today, which is a trip, right? Like, it's like the discrepancy of the way we treat people is phenomenal in this country. And I'm sorry I'm back to this broken record, but holy fuck, I can't get it out of my head.
I mean, it's, no, don't apologize at all. It's, you know.
Anyway, a lot of stuff I just reflect on. And then we sit and we wait. And I think, you know, you keep going and you watch in times like this and you see where the world turns out. Because maybe you as a comic or somebody as a bartender or as a physical trainer, a coach somewhere, you're maybe not going to want to do that in the world that comes up. Because we're not going to be in places together. It seems like they're making all these infringements on the quality of our lives. And so now I'm just kind of waiting, going, well, what are they going to allow us to make money on? Because it seems like a crazy thing where I'm not allowed to make an income. Like that's been taken from me for something that has a very small result as far as killing people in the country. It's not nearly what the PR made it out to be.
Yeah, that always seems like there's several sets of standards for.
It doesn't feel like we're not being attacked.
Yeah, right. If Brad Branch was black,
it'd be a different story, baby. That's a wrap.
Either be dead or.
I can't believe that they burned up like 80 people. That's crazy.
I kind of forgot the story.
All they were doing was they were buying up weapons at like gun shows and shit, right? And so they had all these. The ATF had all these numbers of these people at this address with all these guns. So it looked like they were stockpiling guns.
But what about the underage stuff?
But it's layered. So they would take the guns and they would resell them. So they didn't have a stockpile of guns. They had a bunch of guns and they would make money for their commune by buying and selling guns. That was part of what they did. And so what they were going to go up and do the knock on the door for was to go, hey man, we need to check all these guns, make sure they're kept safe, make sure the records are good. And that was it. It was a regular citizen's check. But they come in with helicopters and tanks. So, and about the kid stuff, the way that all got layered up was like, he was like any of these crazy, I'm not trying to say that David Koresh was a good guy, cult leader, and he talked these simps out of their wives and would say, that's my wife now, and he'd have babies with her. And then I think one of his wives, he did their younger sister or something like that. There was a girl that was like 15 that he'd impregnated, and then unless she was married to somebody, then that would be the legalese through which they would get him. But if she were married to somebody, it would be, or something like that. And so it was like that kind of thing they were coming in. But it's like, I mean, it's like the thing about saying, well, you shouldn't run from the police and they wouldn't shoot you. It's like it doesn't warrant you burning down, 70, 80 men, women, and children. Like, that's fucking asinine. But then there's some discussion about who did start that fire.
Well, yeah. The FBI said they didn't use incendiary devices, and I guess who got out were like, no, they were incendiary.
Right.
We didn't.
And even if you see a flashbang or something like that go, I mean, that can light. I would think. I mean, all that spark and all that. I mean, it's not zero energy. You're putting energy into the room when you're throwing bombs into a room. I mean, fuck.
What else can you talk about? What's coming out next to the fan? The Earl of Maniacs can become.
Earl of Maniacs can start looking for a Jamie Foxx show. I think we're going to call it Power. I'm not sure on the final name yet, but that ought to be out Netflix release. Maybe November, I think they'll be finished with it. I'm not sure. It depends. A lot of this stuff coming up, like.
Yeah, who knows?
I mean, the other thing is even if you opened up fully right now, how would you? I mean. You've already got such bad PR. People aren't going to want to go. Even if we opened up fully right now, people would limit to the amount that they went out, and you're not going to be able to make your money anyway. I mean, it's like it's a hard press we're in. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think it's time to draw it all in and wait and breathe and focus on where you can be helpful.